Okay?
Yep.
So this is how we would introduce a gentle leader. Now, historically, some dogs have just had them put on and expected to walk in them, and that's not how we do it. So on the step program, we take about 8 or 9 weeks to introduce a gentle leader, and it takes that long for the dog to accept it. And we build it up so slowly.
Is that a set 8 weeks? What happens if you had a dog that took to the initial steps really quickly, or
We can move it on, but generally speaking, we won't start working a dog and stuff like that till 8 weeks. They've got the T-touch harness, which should help with anything like that.
and why is the reason that you take so long to introduce it?
Because again, this is a piece of equipment that potentially the dog could be wearing for the rest of its life. I'd say 90% of our clients will use one of these at some point throughout the dog's life. It's really important it's introduced properly and not just popped on and off. We must take it off in social situations. You might see quite a few dogs that have got them on, and the rules are changing, and that the dog mustn't wear this in a social situation. It is not for control and manoeuvring. It is for health and safety. It's quite a good tool. We introduce every single dog to one of these. So
Even if they've not had it at puppy walk?
Even if they've not had it, because we never know if that client will need one. It is a standard piece of equipment. So we use these now. We don't use canny collars. Adult dogs just tend to ping them off, basically.
What about halters?
These are basically quite similar to halties. They're quite difficult for clients to put on. We have to teach them in a certain way. So any dog that puts their nose through that loop makes that client's job so much easier. So that's how we do it. So basically, the first few stages are just literally, she doesn't have to do anything. She just touches it. She's looking at my hands because she's a greedy little mugger. Yep, good. Yep. And it's just getting it used to being near her face. That's all I want. Yep. Good girl. Good girl.
If she wasn't moving towards it then,
Yeah.
what's a way you could do to make it even easier?
Just move it away. Take it away for a second and then represent it. So it's the same as a hand touch target. If you went to present your hand and the dog wasn't doing it, take it away for a second and then reposition it and see what happens.
Could you, even if they weren't getting that, could you potentially scrunch it up in your hand
Yeah.
and do a normal hand touch target with it?
Yeah, you just need to be careful they're not going for your hand rather than the thing. The
Okay.
idea is she's going for this bit. Oh dear, what are you doing? Yep, good girl.
So you could see on that one that obviously she was trying to offer a couple of other behaviours, wasn't exactly sure what you wanted. So that's when you just made it a wee bit easier for her.
So she's done a couple of these sessions. So what we would do ultimately is you're wanting the dog to present. Not all dogs will put the nose straight through it. That is a really strong behaviour. So at this stage you want the dog to give consent, which is basically, I'm just going to put my nose through it, which is fine. So at this stage, I'm holding the loop out. Yep. And I want her to touch it, and then she's going to get fed through it.
So you've done that first stage very, very quickly.
No, basically I've built that up over the past few weeks.
So this
I'm
isn't
just
the
showing.
so this isn't
No,
the first
this isn't
session.
This isn't the first session she's done. Yep. So you see her pushing forward with her nose. That is, I want to.
So
I'm giving consent.
Has she done this stage before?
Yep. Now with Eunice, because she is quite strong, she probably will need one.
But that was as well. Just say if you're starting up a training session, when you start it afresh on a day, do you find it useful to initially just go back a step first, just to make it that bit easier, really like jog the dog's memory, and then you can build it up faster if they've already got to that stage previously?
With the new behaviours, definitely. If it's a more established behaviour, not necessarily. If they're finding it difficult, I will. So generally speaking, the rule of thumb is 2 or 3 repetitions at the stage you're at, if they're getting one like 100% of the time, then you can move on. If they're not, you need to keep it at that or go back. So if you move forward onto your next stage where you think, yeah, I can extend stuff and move it on. If they start regressing and not learning and stuff, you need to go back. You need to stop it at that level and go back. Yep. Good. Absolutely obsessed with treat pouches. Ridiculous. Good girl. So we use something called clean training, which is basically everything's on the right hand side, no food on the floor. So when I was doing the harness, the food is actually on top of a harness. I never put it on the floor. The food has to be on top of something. I mean, it's really, really important with dogs like this, because this is what you get. They start coming around the back of you all the time because they're obsessed with stuff. So if I had stuff in my pockets, I guarantee she would start nudging my pockets.
Okay.